I'm Jeff Fischel here on the ACC Digital Network, brought to you by Ruby Tuesday. And joining me, the great voice of the Florida State Seminoles, Gene Deckerhoff, to help me break down FSU in the NFL draft. Okay, Gene, we all keep hearing, we know Jameis Winston's going to be the first Nole to go. Who are some of the other Noles you've called and followed over the last few years who can make a big impact in the NFL?
Yeah, you know, Jeff, if Jameis goes with that first pick overall of the Buccaneers, I think he should count as two, don't you? Florida State never had a number one overall draft pick. Our highest draft pick, Andre Wadsworth, went to Arizona as the number 3 pick. As far as Florida State Seminoles in the first round, Jameis, obviously. But you've got some guys that are starting to get a lot of notice by the scouts, particularly after private workouts and after our pro day a couple of weeks ago. I think Cameron Erving's stock has really risen. It had dropped a little bit because of the switch in positions, but they see how he can handle the snap of the ball. He'll be drafted as a center instead of a first-round offensive tackle. The neat thing about Cameron Erving, he can play both positions and play at an NFL level. Eddie Goldman, I think his stock is rising right now, and if Eddie had played another year, I think Eddie Goldman would be a solid first-round pick. I think he might slide into that first round. So there's 3 in the first round of the NFL draft coming up. In Chicago, by the way, a total in town. Let's see, maybe 4, don't know. P.J. Williams might have been able to slip in there, but I think he's fallen after the private workouts and things like. He may have dropped to the 2nd or 3rd round. We'll find out. Ronald Darby will be in the mix because of his speed. And let's see. Oh, the guy that happened to be the best tight end in college football a year ago, winner of the John Mackey Award, the first ever by a Florida State tight end. In fact, I think the first Florida State tight end since 1998 will be drafted either on the 30th or the 1st of May, and that's Nick O'Leary. And Nick O'Leary is going to make somebody a much better football team because he's got those old school hands, refuses to wear gloves, catches everything thrown his way. And what a tremendous 4-year career he had. Florida State may have a chance to set a record for the most players drafted in a 3-year period, and the record, we would need 10. 11 would be the new record, and Jimbo Fisher told me on Tuesday night at a trip to Pensacola we had together, he said, hey, we may have 12 drafted, 30 in 3 years. What a phenomenal number.
Absolutely, and you get to that. I was thinking exactly about that stat and how Florida State could be breaking the record for over a 3-year period. What does that say to you about what Jimbo Fisher has built over these last few years?
Well, Jimbo Fisher is 58-11 in his 5 years as the head coach of the Florida State Seminoles. Remember, he was the head coach in waiting under the legendary Bobby Bowden for 3 years, and so he sort of hit the ground running. His first recruiting season was absolutely a gem, and he's continued to add to that. Great recruiting by Jimbo and his staff, and then when they get to Tallahassee, Florida, folks, this is no country club. You learn to play football at a Division I level, and the only objective is winning championships, ACC national champions, and by golly, those kids work very hard. It's been a great success story for Jimbo. NFL scouts will tell Jimbo Fisher and anybody that will listen that when they recruit a Florida State kid, they know they're getting the real deal. And that's a tremendous testament by guys that make a lot of money, and their livelihood depends on them making the right decision on draft day.
Gene, that's great stuff. You know what? I tee it up and you just knock it right down the middle of the fairway about 300 yards. Really appreciate it. Great talking to you once again. You're watching the ACC